Hi, I'm Tim. Welcome to Watchbox, and thanks for logging on. If you love this watch, email me, tmosso@thewatchbox.com. Your purchase and pricing email question line for buying this or any watch you see on any Watchbox platform. Please reach out to me directly. Email tmosso@thewatchbox.com for pricing. Today, we're discussing a watch launched in 2019, part of the third generation of overseas sports watches from Vacheron Constantin. This is the Vacheron Constantin Overseas Perpetual Calendar Ultra Thin. It is 41.5 millimeters in diameter. I measure it 8.3 millimeters thick, and from lug to lug across the case, 49 millimeters is the distance. So 49 millimeters is the distance across the wrist, and I'd recommend this watch for a wrist as small as 14 centimeters in circumference. You can see part of the ultra thin family. It easily slides underneath any kind of a cuff, and it is relatively short from lug to lug. For as complex as it is, and as much wrist presence as it has, it wears fairly easily. A reason for that is that unlike a lot of the third generation overseas watches, you can pull the bracelet straight down out of the lugs. So rather than flaring like this, as you'll see on some of the other watches, this one can be pulled straight down, which makes it fit better on a small wrist. It also includes the quick release system that you find on other Vacheron overseas third generation watches. So this watch comes with a second deployant clasp for use with two straps that come from the factory. You get a strap in rubber and you get a strap in leather in addition to this factory bracelet. So you get all three when you buy this watch. And again, with the quick release system, you don't need tools to dismount the straps. Take a look at the bracelet. It's beautifully finished. As you can see, even some of the interior facets you wouldn't normally see, these little recesses are polished. There's a nice bevel down the edge that continues the bevel of the case down the shoulders of the links. You can see the links are polished on their outer edge. They are primarily satin finished across the top. And you can see this Maltese cross motif that repeats through the center of the bracelet. It's also used on the bezel of the watch, and you can see it on the crown as well as on the dial. And then once again, you can see it's formed when you close the clasp. That is the long-running symbol of the brand. The bracelet is beautifully hand-finished, and as you can see, every single link of the bracelet on both sides is removable, so you can fine-tune the fit quite a bit. Taking a quick look at the clasp, it's a twin-trigger release that's internally polished, and as you can see, it is not a sequential close. You can close either side, but it is very secure because of the twin triggers. It's not a friction-fit clasp. It can't pop open. You have to press both triggers to open it up. The case is slender, and like all overseas watches, it draws heavily on the imagery from the 1977 Vacheron 222 sports watch. That's where the overseas design really comes from more than anything else. And the overseas collection has been around and evolving with inspiration from the 222 since 1996. So one of the features of this generation of overseas that's a bit different from the past is that there is a circular plinth underneath the bezel. So you can see that satin finished and then outwardly polished plinth, and then there's a polished Maltese cross style bezel on top of that. The dial is silver satin. You can see it's a metallic sunburst radiating out, and then we have a sunken contrasting tone matte registers for the day, the date, and we have the 48-month cycle up at the top. That acts effectively as your leap year display. The watch is loomed, and it actually has pretty good loom, all things considered, for a relatively dainty sports watch. And you can see that the hands as well as the indices are made of rose gold, real rose gold. If we get really close to the moon phase disk, you can see that we actually have small connected constellations, and the stars themselves have been connected by lacquering to create the image of the constellations in the sky. So as that moon phase display rotates, you actually see little constellations drawn out. The watch is a perpetual calendar, which means you don't need to change anything during a leap year. You don't need to correct it after an irregular length month. It can fix itself in the jump from February to March. You don't need to make any manual corrections until the year 2100. We have a couple of colors on this dial. We have rose gold, we have silver, and we have blue. And you can see in particular, the track outboard for the minutes is printed in blue. The numerals are printed in blue. We'll remove the bracelet so you can better enjoy the case back. Part of the fun of having that quick release bracelet system is that you do have the ability to quickly and easily reveal the case back. Now, unlike most of the overseas watches of the third generation, this is not by origin a Vacheron movement. but it is made in-house by Vacheron today, along with Audemars Piguet. Those are the two companies still making this movement based on the 1967 JLC 920 Bausch. That a Bausch, was developed for the Holy Trinity, AP, Patek, and Vacheron, and it has only ever been used by them. Again, today, AP and Vacheron both make and finish the movement in-house. You get 50 meters of water resistance. As you can see here, this is a push-down crown, so I don't actually recommend swimming with the watch, but it does have a remarkable amount of water resistance for a dress watch. If you think of it that way, dress watches typically have 30, this has 50. It is also anti-magnetic, as there is a paramagnetic ring inside that actually grabs magnetic field lines and channels them around the movement. Now we have a rotor that is engraved with a compass rose pattern, and there are 4 different finishes on the rotor. And note that it's 22 karat gold for maximum mass and winding efficiency. It's not 21, it's not 18, and God help us, it's not tungsten like you find at a lot of other companies. Taking a quick look at the way the rotor works, you can see there's a beryllium ring that actually runs all the way around the movement. The rotor has the mass on one side, but you can see that the ring runs all the way around, and it actually pivots on 4 ruby rollers or bearings built into the base plate. That allows the ring as well as the mass to be sunk very close to the base plate and the bridges without ever accidentally coming in contact with them due to shock. The movement is finished to Geneva hallmark standards, so you can see the hallmark on the movement but also on the case. As since 2012, the hallmark has represented a full watch standard of finish and materials rather than just movement finish. Now, changes have been made to this movement over the years, but the biggest one being the combination of finish and a free-sprung balance. Here we have a Gyromax-style free-sprung balance, probably adjusted in 5 positions, as is the habit of Vacheron on its Geneva hallmark movements. All of this pivots on 36 jewels. You can see that the Côte de Genève, the satination, the perlage engine turning, the mirror beveling on the edge of the bridges, it's all beautiful and world-class, and it's worthy of the Geneva hallmark. The movement beats away at a vintagey rate of 19,800 vibrations per hour, which marks this as a product of the late 60s, and then has a 40-hour power reserve unidirectionally wound. The base movement is only 2.4 millimeters thick, which is one of the reasons Vacheron and AP continue to use this movement today. It remains technically impressive, and it has a beautiful history behind it, having been developed by JLC for Vacheron. Reach out to Team Mosso at thewatchbox.com for purchase and pricing details of this overseas Perpetual calendar ultra thin.